Well, welcome back to GW Unspoken, the podcast where we unpack the inconvenient truths about being human. You know, that stuff we all know deep inside but conveniently ignore while pretending that, we've all got it sorted. And today we're diving into something deceptively simple, scientifically profound, and probably socially misunderstood. We're at Season 2, Episode 4, and we're talking about sleep. And it's called Sleep Like It Matters because it actually does. Many adults treat it like, sleep will be the activity I'll get to after I finish everything else in my day or maybe in my life. So look, let's start with a confronting fact. If you're operating on poor sleep, you're basically functioning like you're mildly intoxicated. And I say that because I just read a research study from the Sleep Research Society, and it found that being awake for 17 straight hours places your cognitive performance at the equivalent of a 0.04 blood alcohol concentration level. And if you stay up for 24 hours, your brain performs like you're sitting at 0.10. But meanwhile, you'll hear people proudly announce, "Oi, guess what? I only slept 4 hours last night." Well, congratulations, you're actually a hazard. Somewhere we mixed up ambition with self-destruction. And look, I get it. Life is busy. Kids wake up on ungodly hours. Work spills into evenings. We get stuck with Netflix autoplays. The dog barks, the neighbour decides to do it yourself project at 9:30. Life happens. But none of that changes our biological reality. Sleep is a foundation for everything else you want to improve. Energy starts with sleep. Mental health, deeply influenced by sleep. Emotional regulation, stress tolerance, memory, metabolism, relationships, libido, yes, that too is all tied to sleep. Yet sleep is the first thing most adults sacrifice. Some cultures actually glorify the hustle. Others glorify productivity. We glorify being tired. It's like a status symbol. But here's the thing, your body doesn't care about your diary. Your brain doesn't care about your job title either. In fact, your nervous system doesn't care about how ambitious you are. You can't outsmart biology. You can only postpone the consequences. Everybody, no matter who you are or what you tell yourself, needs sleep. So look, let's talk about what actually happens when you sleep. This is where the neuroscience gets fascinating and unsettling. Deep sleep equals brain cleaning. So during deep sleep, your brain activates the glymphatic system, a specialized waste removal system that flushes out metabolic toxins. One of those toxins is beta amyloid, the protein strongly linked to Alzheimer's. So if you skip sleep consistently and that buildup becomes harder to clear, think of it as letting dishes pile up in the sink until something starts growing on them. REM sleep, the emotional memory sorting. REM sleep is like the night shift in your brain's filing department. Emotions get processed, memories get organized, experiences get integrated. Matthew Walker compares REM sleep to overnight therapy. Miss it, and everything feels heavy the next day. Have you ever noticed you're more reactive, sensitive, or emotional when tired? This is because the amygdala, your brain's emotional amplifier, becomes 60% more reactive without adequate sleep. So think about the people you're around, think about the people you're influencing, think about your family members, think about how you want to see yourself. 60% more reactive without adequate sleep. The other thing is sleep is a hormone, gives you hormone regulation. So ghrelin, the hunger hormone, it goes up. Leptin, the feeling like you're full, it goes down. Your cortisol, your stress hormone, it stays high. Testosterone, it drops. And insulin sensitivity, it actually declines as well. So that's why sleep-deprived people crave carbs, sugar, and high-calorie foods. Your brain is literally begging for fast fuel. And this isn't a weakness. It's physiology. Think about the times in your life when you've been hungry, you might have missed food because you've been busy or whatever reason it might be. But typically, we crave sugar and salt because our blood insulin wants that stuff. So, you look at McDonald's and KFC and all these fast food chains. Yes, the number one business for them is to be located in a great area so people can stop and get in and find them and see them. But the food itself with high fat, high salt, and often sugar is what our brains are saying, look, I'm starving, I just need this right now. How many times have you been stuck doing that? And here's another one. Can we actually sleep too much? And surprisingly, the answer is actually yes. So if you regularly sleep more than 9 to 10 hours, it's been linked to increasing health challenges. So this is important. This is an important bit. Oversleeping is usually the result of another issue, not the cause. So fatigue disorders, chronic inflammation, depression, anemia, thyroid issues, all can make your body crave more sleep. So if you consistently need 11 or 12 hours, it's not laziness. It could be a message. It could be a signal worth listening to. So when your body speaks, sleep is one of its loudest languages. You might want to get that checked. So why do we treat sleep like it doesn't matter? I'll tell you why, because modern life hijacks our circadian rhythms. Your ancestors didn't have LED lights, caffeine at 3 p.m., 24/7 entertainment at a flick of a button of a remote, endless work, or just one more episode. We're the first generation trying to negotiate with biology and using lifestyle hacks and coffee machines. We're overstimulated, we're under-rested, and we're overconfident in our abilities just to push through. And again, unfortunately, when you ask people how they're going, try and do this as a bit of an experiment this week. Guaranteed, when you ask someone how they're going, you'll probably get 6 to 8 people saying, "Oh, I'm so busy. I'm not sleeping, I'm so busy." And it's almost like a status symbol. Your brain doesn't need your permission to shut down. It will simply do it eventually. Micro sleeps happen without your awareness. Your attention often flickers, your memory blanks out, your emotions get louder, your body collapses into fatigue. And yet, ironically, most people will try new diets, new supplements, new productivity apps, new morning routines, but they'll ignore the simplest performance enhancer available: go to bed. So what can we actually do then? If these are the facts and these are, credible journals here, what can we actually do? And look, it doesn't require perfection, because when you try and be perfection or perfectionist and you fail, or if you fail, sometimes it actually hurts your self-esteem to even want to try again. All right? It actually requires intentionality. So here's some suggestions. Number 1, create a consistent bedtime where you can. Obviously, shift workers, I'm not talking to you. Although if you're on a regular roster, that might help. Create a consistent bedtime. Dim the lights at night. Replace your phone with a book and say, don't say, "Well, I don't like reading." Well, really, what are you scrolling? Try and find an interest point that you have. All right? Leaders are readers. It's actually really good for your brain. Stop bargaining with yourself like, "I'll just check one more thing." You won't. You'll check 47. Like, build a wind down routine. Lower the stimulation. Signal safety to your nervous system. Give your brain the message, "We are closing shop for the night," because you deserve to feel alive and not rebooting. You deserve mornings where you don't wake up already exhausted. You deserve clarity, creativity, patience, emotional stability, and all of that stuff in your brain actually starts with a good night rest. So look, tonight, let this episode echo in your mind. When you reach for the remote, scroll on your phone, or you go to scroll on your phone, or tell yourself, "I'll go to bed soon." Think about it. Sleep like it matters, because it absolutely does. Try and prioritize it for a week and see the differences it makes. So here's some of the journal prompts I like giving you so you can actually write them down. Remember, whatever gets measured improves. So here's 3 journal prompts for better sleep and daily activity, or accountability, I should say. Number 1, physically write down what 3 habits or behaviors currently disrupt your sleep the most. What does it disrupt? And what small realistic changes can you implement tonight to improve that? Because when you're aware and you add action, that's when you actually start getting the transformation. Number 2, how do you physically, mentally, and emotionally feel after a good night's sleep versus a poor one? Let that, or this contrast, drive your motivation. Just know what it feels like to be fully rested. All right. And try not to always come up with an excuse of why. Just think about it. If nothing changes, nothing changes. And last one, what is one non-negotiable rule you'll set for yourself this week to protect your sleep? And write down also why that matters to you personally. It could be some of the things we talked about earlier about how your mood swings might change. For example, you might want to be in the best person that you can, or in the best space you can when you're relating to others, especially your loved ones. So make it meaningful, make it yours. Thanks for joining us in this episode of Sleep. I know it's one of those tougher ones to do. I know everyone has a different biological clock, and teens, you're different too when you're going through your hormones and your brain's changing. There's always going to be an excuse, but let's go through some consistency. Let's find out how we can prioritize. Because when you do, you become the best version that you can be.